Luke 24 records this incredible conversation between Jesus and some of his disciples. And inside this conversation, there is an important word for you and I about the succinct and unified story of all of Scripture. And I gotta be honest, I get so frustrated when I hear people talk about how they just kind of want to ditch the Old Testament. It's like, it's old, there's so many rules and regulations, it's hard to understand, it's long, we should just camp out in the New Testament. And while I understand that, I believe that it really goes against what the New Testament says, because almost every page of the New Testament points back, clarifies, and helps us understand Old Testament things. There is a unity of Scripture that if we are not immersing ourselves in, we are missing out on the big story. And Jesus agrees with me, or more, I would like to say I agree with Jesus because he's the first one who said it. So Jesus is on the road to Emmaus. He's walking with his disciples, and they have no idea that right beside them is Jesus, the risen Lord. And they're recounting to this person who they think is a stranger all of the things that have been happening in Jerusalem. Jesus and his miracles, and then Jesus and his crucifixion. And then they tell Jesus, hilarious, but they tell Jesus, and some of our disciples believe that they saw him resurrected. And Jesus says this, "O foolish ones, and slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Was it not necessary that the Christ should suffer these things and enter into his glory? And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself." Do you hear this? All of the Old Testament speaks to who Jesus is. Do you want to know Jesus in his fullness? You must immerse yourself in all of Scripture, Old Testament and New Testament, because what is in the Old is revealed in the New. And Jesus himself walked with his disciples and clarified to them what is happening in the Old Testament that points to what they were currently experiencing, but they just didn't have the eyes to see it. What does that mean for you and I? Because obviously we have the fullness of the New Testament and we get to read the actual stories in the gospel, and we have a clarified, succinct understanding of what the Old Testament means. What does that mean for us? Well, it means that if you want to know Jesus more, you need to immerse yourself in the Old Testament, because the New Testament is 27 books, the Old Testament is 39 books. How much do you want to know about Jesus? How much do you want to understand? These disciples were missing Jesus in the flesh, but they were able eventually to encounter the truth about Jesus because they had seen it unpacked in the Old Testament. So you might be thinking, okay, I want to do this, Dina. I want to understand the whole sweep of Scripture, the grand story that God is telling. I want to know Jesus more. Where do I start? Well, I have two ideas for you. The first is a hardcore idea, and the second is the most beautiful cheater idea I could ever give to you. So, you choose your personality, you choose your own adventure. The first idea is this: simply commit to reading the Bible in 1 month. I know, crazy. It is going to take you hours upon hours upon hours. But let me tell you what, I have had 18-year-olds in my office that did this. You can do this too. And I'm not saying every single chapter has to be one where you're literally reading it and flipping the page. Every time you're in the car, turn the Bible on, audio Bible, download YouVersion, and just push play and listen to the story of God. What we need to do is we need to listen to the whole story quickly. You will not understand every part, and that is okay, but get it all inside of you. For once in your life, read the whole story from start to end in a short amount of time. Aim for 1 month. Here's my second idea. If you're like, I am never doing that, that is so understandable. I have never done that. I've read through the Bible twice. Both times it has taken me 3.5 years reading a chapter every day. And again, if you're reading a chapter every day and it takes you 3 years, it's going to be hard for you to get the whole story of the Bible succinctly in your brain. So here's your master cheater tip. Go buy the book, The Jesus Storybook Bible by Sally Lloyd Jones. Here's the thing. My 5-year-old, I guess she's 6 now, she just had her birthday. My 6-year-old has an incredible grasp of the story of Scripture. She knows where the prophets are and what they're saying about Jesus. She knows about Jesus and how the story goes. She has this great grasp of the entire story of God simply because she's read a 100-page book, or I've read to her a 100-page book that succinctly summarizes what all of Scripture says. Now, if you're an adult, you're gonna feel ridiculous reading a children's Bible. Do it anyways. Someone has gone to all the hard work of taking the main themes of Scripture and the main stories and summarizing them for you and I. I gotta tell you, reading this to my kids has been one of the most enriching things that I've done in the last several years. So there's your cheater tip. You can go the hardcore, read the Bible in a month to get the whole story of Scripture, or just buy the Jesus Storybook Bible. You can sit down and read the whole thing in 1 hour. Honestly, both will give you the same thing, a grasp of the entirety of Scripture and how it points to Jesus, the Messiah, the one who has saved us from sins. I hope you do one of these two and that it enriches your entire life's interactions with Scriptures. I hope that encourages you.
Hey, thanks for watching that refuel. We would love you to subscribe below. Hit the subscribe button for this YouTube channel because this Bayside YouTube channel is where we send out all of our video content so you can get all of it. Make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching.